everyone, and welcome to our reading and writing skills video presentation. This is Ma'am Angie. Our objectives for today are: first, explain the critical reading. Second, distinguish the explicit and the implicit. And then the last one, identify the different types of argument in critical reading. Imagine receiving this kind of message out of nowhere. Your mobile number has won 500,000 pesos in Apple iPhone PH. Reference number NK11KGS. To claim, email your name, age, and occupation to freeappleiphone@gmail.com. Will you believe this message? How are you going to react? What are you going to do about it? Yes. You know that message is only a scam. And what will you do? You will not, of course, reply or contact the contact information there. So do you think you have chosen the right decision? Yes. Because you can be what? Scam, in that message. So we have been a recipient of this kind of text scam message. And before believing the news and give your critical information, you might have asked yourself, like, did I join such contest before? Why is it asking for such confidential information through text message? Asking such questions is a proof that you are thinking critically. What do you call the process of validating information through reading while thinking critically? Yes, that's right. That's a critical reading. So critical reading is a more active way of reading. It is a deeper and more complex engagement with a text. It is a process of analyzing, interpreting, and sometimes evaluating. So when we read critically, we use our critical thinking skills to question both the text and our reading of it. Now, so what is a critical reader? A critical reader is someone who defends something by giving out results. That's according to Benino 2020. A critical reader should be able to use textual evidence when asked to support analysis of the implicit and explicit information presented by a writer in a text. So we should be talking about textual evidence. So when you analyze a text, you want your readers to know what the author actually says rather than merely your interpretation of the author's ideas. So this means that you quote, paraphrase, and or summarize the author's words to support your points. So how do you use textual evidence? So you have to state the idea you have about the text. So if you are to answer a specific question, so be sure your ideas restates the question. So then give supporting evidence from the text. So to cite explicitly, paraphrase or use quotes from the text. So if you use direct quotes from a text, you must use quotation marks. What about implicit information? So it refers to something that is suggested or implied, but not ever clearly said. For example, your mother shows you an angry face like this. When you leave your socks on the floor. So showing the angry face means she does not like you leaving your socks on the floor. So instead of scolding you verbally, she just shows you an angry face. So let's identify the explicit information. So it means communicating directly in a clear and exact way. So example, someone gives a very straightforward direction to a location. Now, so what is critical reading? So once again, it is a process of analyzing, interpreting, and sometimes evaluating. So when we read critically, we use our critical thinking skills to question both the text and our own reading of it. So a critical reading also tells the reader what the text does and what it means. So in other words, while basic reading is concerned with what is in a text, so critical reading is also concerned with how the text is written and why it is written this way. So a critical reader constantly asks one big question as he reads. Am I really thinking about what I'm reading? So this question can be broken apart into many other questions. Considering the source. First, what kind of publication is this? What is the author's background in this subject? To whom is the author writing? The next one, recognizing what is said. Had the author really said what I think he said? The third one, recognizing assumptions and implications. Does the author make inconsistent statements? What does the author assume to be true? Which of these assumptions are stated, unstated? Does a particular statement depend on context for its intended meaning? What does the author imply? Insinuate. Recognizing intent, attitude, tone, and bias. Why is the author writing this? What is his motive purpose? What is the author's attitude, tone, bias? Does the author mean what he says? Or is he making his point in a roundabout way through humor, satire, irony, or sarcasm? Are the author's words to be taken exactly as they appear? Or are they slang, idioms, or figures of speech? So which of these author statements are facts? Which are opinions? Analyzing arguments. Does the author write emotionally, using sentiment, horror, name-calling, flag-waving? Which of the author's statements does he support? Which does he leave unsupported? What conclusions does the author reach? Of the author's conclusions, which are satisfied? Which ones are not satisfied? Remember that a critical reader does the following. He does not believe everything he reads. He questions everything which doesn't make sense to him. He questions some things even though they do make sense to him. He rereads when he thinks he may have missed something. He considers the type of material he is reading. before deciding how much weight to give to it. He admits that the effect on him of what the author says may be caused more by the author's style of writing than by the facts presented. He analyzes arguments. He discounts arguments based on faulty reasoning. And lastly, he has a good reasons for believing some things and disbelieving others, for agreeing with some authors and disagreeing with others. Kurland in 2010 noted that to non-critical readers, texts provide facts. So readers gather knowledge in a way of memorizing the statements in the text. Critical readers recognize not only what the text says, but also how a text describes the subject matter. According to him, there are three steps or modes of analysis which can be reflected in three types of reading and discussion. As a critical reader, you should think that what the text says. So that is a restatement. So after critical reading a piece, you should be able to take notes, paraphrase in your own words. So get the key points. What the text says. So you get the description. You should be confident that you have understood the text enough to be able to use your own examples and compare and contrast with other writing on the subject in hand. What the text means. So you are interpreting. So this means that you should be able to fully analyze the text and state the meaning for the text as a whole. So this essential skill helps the reader to develop his or her critical thinking by reasoning and vice versa. So in relation to this, she can realize that a certain text is connected to human experiences. So in effect, they can be guided on how to see things both in micro and macro levels. So to attain this, a reader must be ready or has the ability to be equipped with ways for thinking. So it is important, therefore, that you should not only learn to read critically, but also efficiently. So to read efficiently is to become selective by choosing carefully what you will read. And to start with, you need to know what you are looking for. So you can then examine the contents, page, or index of a book or journal to find out whether a chapter or article is worth to be read further. So it is essential to read critically because it requires you to evaluate the arguments in the text. So this also means being aware of your opinions and expectations, so positive and negative, of the text you are reading, so you can evaluate it honestly. Any questions so far? None? Okay, let's try to do the activity. The following is a paragraph taken from the letter to his father by Franz Kafka. So after analyzing the letter, identify the explicit and implicit points and the inference based on the explicit and implicit information taken. So let's read the letter. Dear Father, you asked me recently why I maintain that I am a Christian. As usual, I was unable to think of any to answer your questions. Partly for the very reason that I am a believer. you. And partly because an explanation of the grounds for this fear would mean going into far more details that I could even approximately keep in my mind while talking. And if I now try to give you an answer in writing, it would still be very incomplete. Because even in writing, this fear and its consequences hamper me in relation to you, and because the magnitude of the subject goes far beyond the scope of my memory and power of listening. Now, can you identify the implicit information there? The child is very afraid with his father due to childhood bad memories with his father. Yes, that's correct. So that's implicit information based on the letter there. Now, can you identify the inference in that letter? Okay. You can conclude that the child and the father have bad relationship or not in good terms. Yes, that's correct. Very good for trying hard for our activity today. Any questions so far? So remember that critical reading is more active way of reading. So it is a deeper and more complex engagement with the text. So it is a process of analyzing, interpreting, and sometimes evaluating. So when we read critically, we use our critical thinking skills. So to question both the text and our own reading of it. And we read critically through explicit and implicitly. So when we say explicitly, so meaning you are getting the information which is directly stated in the text. When you say implicit, you're giving information which is not directly stated in the text. That is beyond the text based on your understanding. That's all for today. Thank you and mabuhay!